Guys, I'm here. Another video for you. This time talking about the overall metagame of Melee in 2021. So, what is the meta really in terms of like game flow? I'd say it's mostly about people min-maxing situations and avoiding spots where they don't have to like typically fight. It's like playing position and grinding out like the bread and butter a step further than it has like in times past. That's kind of like how the game goes. The punch game is always getting better. Exceptions being if like absolute top pros like retired, then sometimes the second, third best people and below like are not nearly as good. Some examples being like Peach. Like Armada was like a punch game monster, right? That's prime. Anyways, so to talk about the meta, especially in rollback, like I said, it's kind of favoring like the min-maxing of spacing in punch game, and the people who typically have done it the best are the spacies as of late. And Marth, Sheiks are good too. Falcon's good, and a couple characters are like faltering, like Puff. You would think she like does better in the current era, but I think because other people have like leveled up, and H-Box kind of slumping. And Puff being a simpler character, simpler game plan with less choices. They're great choices, and their punch game is brutal, but I think she's kind of falling behind in terms of like other characters like improving. They got more tools, and people are using those tools a lot better. As for Peach, Peach is great character but flawed. I'd say a little underrated in the current meta. Like she can really mess people up by like one opening, like random dash attack and all that. But she is slow against camps. She has to like work on clothing distance. And it matters a lot more as of late because people will exploit like Peach being slow and bad at approaching relative to like the other good characters. Like people will like maximize that aspect. I think like how people look at the game, they're like, oh, you're playing lame. And then people kind of like shame you into like not playing lame or looking down upon it like a lot. Nowadays in bracket defensive play, anything goes, anything goes. Unless you're like a wobbler or you like camp 8 minutes, like people like typically have your back, and that's generally like represented in like watching like Twitch chat, opinion of top pros. So you have more people want to like play a certain way that most people would disagree with in the past. It's not like a taboo. Back then, like even like 4 or 5 years, they're like, "Oh, you're not playing like Mingo," or "Why are you dash dancing for like 30 seconds straight?" So there's like a more bigger range of good strats that people use. Again, the fundamentals are a lot more clean, and solo session of Ices, like I think Melee is scrubby in the sense that they banned Woblin. That's my personal opinion because I don't think Woblin is that broken. I don't think Ices are a great character even with it. And you ask like any other FGC like Infinites in their game, like they love it. They think it's hype. Although you can argue Melee is not like you can't compare it to like Street Fighter or Marvel. Like that's like a valid point. Anyways, getting back to the original question. Again, people are a lot more clean, and average skill level went up by quite a bit. Like you go to like a tournament like 5-10 years ago, and half the people there can't even like do proper test skill. So it's like, okay, free win. You go to pools of like national, like you can just like not pay attention and usually get by like with no trouble. So because of rollback and people playing a lot, rollback being amazing, a lot of tools like Uncle Punch appearing, 20xx, and overall like quality of guides coming up on YouTube and or like Discord. Chef Frost's cookbook, for example, like it's just like the tools are amazing now. The average skill level is great. I can go to unranked and play people, and they usually give you a decent fight. So yeah, overall, just people are better, and people are more willing to do not necessarily whatever it takes to win, but it's not like looked down upon to be like defensive. Some exceptions. So again, let me talk about the characters. if we're talking about like rollback de facto tournaments now, then I put top 2 be Spacies, followed by Marth. Really close, it doesn't matter that much. Top 2 is going to be Marth Fox. If you're talking about land melee, I'd say Marth is easily number 1. It's interesting to think about nowadays because Zane's the only one like properly killing it with who I think is the best character. While at across the board, there's a lot of Foxes, and Falco is like on the come up. It's really interesting to think about because I think Marth he wins every matchup in the game on every stage, but apparently apparently it's not enough. Maybe because not as many people play Marth compared to the Spacies, or Zane's just that good. But there's only Zane, and that's it. Like even Falcon has like me, Nun, Gatsu, and now me, Nun, and Wizzy. Now Gatsu in the top 4, arguably of the top 10. So why is that? Looking at the meta, I'd say Marth mains, they're only good at killing Spacies. They're pretty mediocre at every other matchup. Like they live and die by fighting Spacies. They fight every other character like they're fighting a Spacie. So they just kind of suck. They only know how to beat Spacies. They know how to chain grab a Spacie and win and get W's that way. It's not enough to qualify as an overall good player. Fox, obviously amazing character. Honestly, the game plan I think is very easy. You can like play really defensively or pretty offensively too, to the point where like you don't really need like a next level strat to beat almost any matchup in the game. So you can have like a basic like level understanding for a matchup for your Fox still, so you can still make it happen. In fact, Fox is like the matchup you have to be sharp at no matter what, at any point. No matter how good or bad you are at the game. If you're not sharp, you can kind of get away with fighting like other characters, other matchups. But you fight like a decent Fox, they're gonna mess you up. It's just how the game goes. It's been that way from the past, it's still the same way now. Falco, probably the toughest top tier in the game, but he's slowly getting to the point where he might actually break into becoming like a true contender for top 2. I'm watching like Mango Zane, and Mango did get like rocked by Zane in week 2 of SCL, but I'm watching the overall flow of the neutral, and I think Falco dominates Marth neutral as long as he doesn't like make big mistakes more than like a couple times a game. If that's the case, then Falco kind of dominates the flow. And if you have like a really well-oiled punish game, edgeguard game, then I think Falco might actually beat Marth, and Falco does have FD being not as bad as like Fox Marth or Fox on FD. I think Falco does have a better match than Fox currently, top level. Of course, it's really hard to beat like Mango level. Obviously, apparently only Mango can pull it off in 2021. But it's like I'm starting to see Falco becoming like a secret best character as time passes, and people will get better as a whole. So yeah, Marth best character. Fox is probably also the best character, but easier, but does lose to Marth currently. Puff is an amazing tournament character, nerfed by rollback net play, and maybe just going down in general as like a overall power level is like sinking because the tools are not as good, but there are a few tools that are very extremely good, and in LAN tournament where people choke more, it definitely gets a buff. We'll see what happens when LAN comes back. I mean, the pandemic is supposedly ending kind of soon, so maybe we'll see legitimate tournaments happening, and we can gauge if Puff is still like a weaker or rollback's like that big of a factor. She's pretty balanced. I think she's balanced defense top tier. She's gonna stay in the same place. I do think the majority of Sheiks play the matchups incorrectly because they have one style which is like really defensive play, methodical. Like it gets very predictable across the board. Even the best ones like Spark at the face roll, they don't have enough of like a second style that works. Like looking at Plup or Jmook, they can bounce it to you like pretty well, and that's why they pull upsets. In the case of Jmook, where other Sheiks that are like kind of similar in level aren't pulling them as often. So I think because the majority of Sheiks play like outdated style, only like it kind of holds the character back. She could go up in overall like character level if more people play like you know, the styles that Jmook and Plup do. Granted that like it's really hard to pull off. She's at best a defensive character, but her offensive game is actually a little underrated. From watching Plup do well the past few weeks, I kind of validated my opinion on that. So Captain Falcon, I'd say that the shittiest viable top tier. He still kind of is, but overall, like people really lapped out and grinded his meta, and he's come to the point where he can win any matchup in the game. There's no matchup where he's toasts, and it's a far cry from the meta of the past. Because the game came out in 2001, and people just thought he couldn't win a tournament for like 15 years, like no joke. There's a lot of propaganda like Hex was like probably the best Falcon of his time, and he quit Falcon going to Fox, selling out, and you know, when a top player says something, then a lot of people will like blindly believe him. But you know, you can't just like say Hex. It's all Hex's fault, because a lot of top pros, you know, they just say like, why play Falcon? You can't do it, or you got to dual main. But yeah, that being said, he's now like a fast, brutal punch game. He's a tank when he's not getting gimped. He might not win neutral across the board, but he does win enough. And combined with like a really strong punch game, like it's more like you got a couple opportunities, you got to maximize them, or you can outplay them in neutral by virtue of him being like fast and crazy. If you're like a fast and crazy player, then you can outplay people enough, and that's on top of his punch game already being good. Like if you equalize in neutral, then you know he can totally go toe to toe with anybody. And people are saying he's stronger than Spacies versus Marth at the moment. I really don't agree. He could like fuck up Marth really quick. He doesn't have the same problems that Spacies might have. Like a Fox can't seem to combo Marth that well. Well, Falcon can, but the neutral is really bad for Falcon Marth. But that's typical of a Falcon matchup, like on paper. He's not supposed to win neutral. Falcon destroys everyone beneath him. Maybe not Pikachu. Stages really matter best of 5. Peach is like a pretty evenish matchup, but Falcon wins. Falcon Sheik, really annoying matchup for Falcon. Like you can ask any top player or like crappier Falcons, and I think we all hate Sheik, but it's definitely a lot better than it used to be. Falco, not as bad as Fox, unless you fight Mango. You fight Mango with like, it's rough. But I think Fox does have a harder match, gives Falcon a harder time than Falco does, especially nowadays where there's still people figuring out new shit on how to like counter Falco. Like for example, you can CC Falco's lasers, and it gives you like even less stun, so that see if Falco does like a double laser from the ledge, you can CC the first laser as he's coming up, and then like, actually hit him and kill him. You know, things like that. The Falcon nerds on the Discord, 20GXers or Chef Rock's cookbook, they all have like new informational stuff coming out. That's like swinging the matchup, not like enough to make Falcon win, but it's enough. It's like more, you know, more shit that he has to not get as dominated. So yeah, Melee's meta is developed quite a lot in the past year of rollback, and it's still developing. The game's constantly changing and evolving. I would say in the rollback, because people are just grinding so much, and we can play anyone in the world. That's close enough, you know. Like you would never have like me play people like in East Canada, like none, and have like good games. Loki, whatever, Zane. So we had the luxury now, and it really drove up the skill level by quite a bit. Like a rollback year was like probably 3 years of non-rollback in terms of how much like the game progressed. Like back then, the only way you get a super level up is if you go to Summit and you play like the top 16 people in the world for like a whole weekend, and that's basically the rollback back then that now you can do every day. But back then, that's all you had. Like only like a few days of a year you get the rollback experience. So what are some overarching strats that people are now using all the time in 2021? Number one has to be crouch canceling. Crouch canceling was like a polarizing aspect of the game that was not used by a whole lot of people for not even until like 20s, like 17, 18. In fact, like there was like a motto by famous Captain Falcon player, like don't get hit, and it kind of reflected like people's mentality at the time. Like we can just outspace people and not pick fights. and just like, you know, we can just outspace and punish game people, and that kind of worked out for like a long time. It depends who you played. It made some characters like way better in the past metas than nowadays. Who kind of fits on now? I'd say Marth kind of definitely fits. She could, but you got to the point where people got really a lot better at scrapping, forcing spots where like people come in and they force you to scrap. You can't just outspace people anymore. Like the crossover game, like Falcon can like nair crossovers or stomp to the point where you got to learn how to like have great defense. And there's spots when taking a hit but you CC'd it is better than like blocking or trying to dodge it. Why? Because you can like counterattack. You minimize the damage done to you, but you can also counterattack out of CC. And it's a huge metagame shift for characters like Falcon. Like in the past, no Falcon wants CC hits. They just try to like dash dance and hope people make a mistake, which a lot of people still do. But people like me and none. And I think a lot of good Falcons in general, even if it's not like their style to scrap as much, they still use CC as a defensive tool that could be a counterattack, like a reversal spot by CC. And as a result, like it kind of made people learn how to scrap themselves more too. Like they're like, oh well, because they're CCing and doing all these more situations popping up, I too also have to learn how to do it. So it created like a new metagame shift where people are now a lot better at scrapping. They learn when they go in, you got to be ready for like something to go wrong, and you immediately have like good defense when things go wrong, because you know you obviously can't be right all the time. So overall, the scrapping meta got a lot sharper and better despite virtue of CC alone. Other tech that is more meaningful on the ledge, people are way better using invincibility. Spaceys learn how to have more broken recoveries. A lot more people ledge cancel on platforms where you can do like a strong but laggy move, but if you land on the edge and you slide off, you will have an opportunity to do a move really quick. It seems like a very broken tool on paper, and on some stages or situations it can be very good. I think it's a pretty solid tool on stages like Untitled Dreams, like a stage where traditionally it will block a lot of like aerials from like Falcon. If you edge cancel platforms, you can kind of spam moves really quickly. Spots where without it you'd be like kind of like way more limited. So yeah, it's a decently big change that more people are doing. I think in the past there was like some people who trademarked it, like Sound Spectre, so forth. I was a big ledge cancel too, but I think more people, it's more ubiquitous now. It's like a defensive choice. Like you can just spam stomps, ledge cancel, and it's like a force stalemate. If they jump into it, they are probably going to get destroyed. They gotta respect it. Not the most like infallible choice. It's got some problems with the keep spamming it, but okay. So that was my impromptu talk of the 2021 meta and how it compares to the past. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and please like, subscribe to the Beast Coast channel, and I'll have more videos for you in the future. Catch you guys later.